Yeah, did you watch the episode when Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said?
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, like, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, like, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, like, a book.
I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, you know, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, you know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
Sunny Hostin just found herself at the center of a financial firestorm after a $450 million fraud scandal erupted, with her own husband allegedly at the heart of it, before she could even put on her shocked face for The View. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher took aim from their respective platforms. Rogan delivered a cold, fact-heavy breakdown, while Maher went full scorched earth with biting commentary and zero sympathy. The double hit left Sunny's public image staggering, and social media lit up faster than her husband's alleged offshore transfers. Viewers were quick to note her silence and tension on air, and the sweat was unmistakable. Between legal whispers, public backlash, and comedy roastings, the daytime host is under pressure like never before. As more details unravel, one thing is clear: this isn't just a scandal, it's a media inferno, and Sunny's stuck at the center without a script or a safety net.
But life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Sunny Hostin, long hailed as daytime TV's moral compass, just got a harsh lesson in irony. Life doesn't come with a fraud-proof vest. While she spent years delivering lectures on law, order, and ethics from the polished set of The View, her own husband was allegedly playing a high-stakes game of Monopoly with the financial system. Only this board came with a federal indictment and $450 million in alleged fraud. The queen of courtroom commentary now finds herself uncomfortably close to the legal drama she so often dissects. As investigators dig deeper and headlines swirl, the contrast between her on-air virtue and off-air reality couldn't be sharper. Viewers are stunned, critics are circling, and Sunny's silence speaks volumes. It's a twist that's as sensational as it is surreal, and the fallout may just rewrite her carefully curated public image. In the court of public opinion, the verdict's still out.
The Sunny Hostin that we all love from one of my favorite shows on The View. And it's always, Tom, what'd you always say? It's always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said, this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like, the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies.
Yes, you heard that right. $450 million, not a typo, not a rounding error. That's the kind of jaw-dropping figure that makes Wall Street envious and gives Ponzi schemes a warm, fuzzy feeling of nostalgia. While Sunny Hostin was busy delivering moral verdicts like Halloween candy on The View, her husband was allegedly writing his own financial playbook, one full of offshore accounts, suspicious billing practices, and what seems like a deep, personal aversion to anything involving the IRS. The contrast is almost cinematic. America's daytime moral authority now staring down a scandal that reads like a Netflix crime drama. Behind the polished TV persona, the cracks are starting to show, and viewers are watching closely. As the investigation unfolds, Sunny's brand of legal commentary might hit a little too close to home. One thing's certain, the receipts are coming and no one's reaching for a calculator just yet.
I mean, The View has to be you know, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb, but Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
Enter Joe Rogan, And no, he's not the guy you turn to for polite tea and crumpets. He's the guy who throws conspiracy theorists and neuroscientists into the same room just to watch the chaos unfold. So when news of Sunny Hostin's husband's alleged $450 million scandal hit the airwaves, Rogan didn't just raise an eyebrow, he lit the whole credibility circus on fire. On his platform, subtlety took a back seat as he ripped into the hypocrisy with trademark blunt force, handing Sunny's public image a first-class ticket straight to Roast City. Known for questioning everything and holding nothing back, Rogan turned her carefully curated moral high ground into rubble. It wasn't just commentary, it was demolition. With millions of listeners tuning in, the takedown was swift, brutal, and unfiltered. In the court of Rogan, there's no script, no safe space, just the raw, uncomfortable spotlight.
She is not implicated in the lawsuit at all, but it's just, I mean, you're married, Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times has she had to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the show? And then she also, on Trump's win, calling the loss because of uneducated white women that Trump won.
We have to know that. This is accused.
All accused. Yeah, all accused, but he's in the RICO. This is a big RICO case that her husband's in there.
Tom, what?
Joe Rogan treated the Sunny Hostin scandal like it was his latest MMA takedown, and he didn't wait for a second round. First up, the irony, thick enough to slice with a samurai sword. A legal analyst famed for lecturing America on ethics and justice, now linked to a household allegedly pioneering creative white-collar fraud. Rogan called it like he saw it. Too absurd for even a Netflix drama without getting accused of lazy satire. But it wasn't just the $450 million fraud allegations that set him off. It was the media's deafening silence. The Same View panel that treats every celebrity blunder like a 5-alarm fire suddenly transformed into a Zen monastery the moment one of their own was caught in legal quicksand. Rogan was stunned by the hypocrisy, pointing out how fast the rules shift when someone from the elite liberal echo chamber is in trouble. Had this been a tech bro, a conservative pundit, or, heaven forbid, someone in a MAGA hat, Rogan joked, the media would have rolled out custom sound effects, a countdown clock, and a live sentencing prediction. Instead, shrugs, awkward segues, and a sudden passion for privacy, Rogan went full throttle, tearing into virtue signaling media elites who love to play moral referee, right up until the whistles aimed at their own team. His message was brutal, but clear. If you're going to dish out accountability, you better be ready to take some when it knocks on your front door.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
And so-
migrate.
While Joe Rogan came in swinging like an MMA fighter with a vendetta, Bill Maher stepped into the ring in a tuxedo, cocktail in hand, wielding his signature wit like a surgeon's scalpel. Where Rogan went loud, raw, and relentless, Maher delivered a takedown that was quieter, but far more lethal. No need for a podcast studio or a sweat-soaked mic, just a polished HBO monologue and a smirk that said, "I've been waiting for this one." Maher began with the setup. Sunny Hostin, longtime moral compass of daytime TV, now navigating a PR nightmare of Shakespearean proportions. Not because she's the one facing federal charges, but because her entire brand is built on the idea that she's smarter, more ethical, and more legally literate than you. So when the FBI starts sniffing around her husband for allegedly funneling hundreds of millions through financial Bermuda triangles, it doesn't just ruin brunch, it shatters the brand with the cool precision of someone who's dissected hypocrisy. Before breakfast, Maher tore into the contradiction, a woman who's built a career on virtue signaling, now caught in the gravitational pull of a scandal big enough to headline a prestige HBO crime drama. And unlike Rogan, who preferred fire and fury, Maher used detachment as his weapon. He didn't scream. He chuckled. He didn't condemn. He raised an eyebrow. It was satire sharpened to a razor's edge. His final point landed with deadly precision. This wasn't just a scandal, it was a mirror held up to the media class's selective outrage. The same group that screams for accountability until the accused shares their green room. Maher didn't just roast the moment, he exposed the machinery behind it, and he did it without spilling his drink.
Megan, I get it. I also hate Joy Behar, so I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird, so I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show? If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double
The
X.
Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's for that one. It's rough.
Let's be honest, if the roles were reversed and this exact $450 million fraud case involved the spouse of a Republican senator, a conservative commentator, or anyone outside Sunny Hostin's ideological bubble, The View would have practically set itself on fire. There would be passionate monologues, righteous tears, pie charts, guest experts, and possibly a breaking news countdown ticker. But now, just awkward silences, forced smiles, and likely a very carefully worded memo from ABC PR that reads something like, "Under no circumstances should anyone mention your husband's alleged role in a multi-million-dollar scam network. Bill." Maher soaked in the irony like a connoisseur sipping vintage red. He didn't need to shout, the story did all the heavy lifting. A public moralist caught in a private embarrassment so grand it demands its own headline font. And that's where things get interesting, because when you fuse Rogan's UFC-style ground and pound takedown with Maher's scalpel-precise satire, you get a truly rare cultural moment. Two people who agree on almost nothing, agreeing completely. Rogan, the free speech libertarian who spends weekends in sensory deprivation tanks, and Maher, the weary liberal intellectual lamenting Western decline from his HBO throne, somehow landed on the exact same conclusion. This scandal is absurd, and the hypocrisy is blinding. They didn't need a smoking gun or a confession from Sunny. Her silence said it all. The same woman who normally dissects every political scandal down to the bone suddenly had nothing to say. And that, more than any monologue, indictment, or media reaction, was the punchline. In an era where outrage is currency, her retreat spoke volumes, and both Rogan and Maher were there to cash in.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. It just happened to coincide. But can I just say...
While Sunny Hostin sat on national television saying absolutely nothing about the criminal investigation unfolding in her own household, Joe Rogan and Bill Maher stepped in and filled the silence with fire, flair, and enough sarcasm to power 1,000 TikTok stitches. Rogan called the media complicit cowards. Maher branded them moral contortionists. Together, they spotlighted what happens when media elites spend so long perched on pedestals, they forget what accountability actually looks like. And what about The View, that daily shrine to righteousness where no topic is too small to dissect like a high school biology frog? Suddenly, the panel caught a bad case of collective amnesia. No discussions, no "this is difficult but necessary," no special segment unpacking the fallout, just total silence, as if a $450 million federal fraud scandal tied to one of their own hosts was somehow beneath the cue cards. It felt like watching a fire alarm blare in a bakery while everyone insists it's just the smell of burnt toast. The View managed to ignore a financial scandal of jaw-dropping proportions with the kind of tunnel vision usually reserved for Olympic sprinters. Meanwhile, Maher and Rogan did what actual commentators are supposed to do. They called out the hypocrisy, mocked the double standards, and reminded the public that claiming moral superiority means being ready to live up to it, especially when the heat's on your your own doorstep. Rogan laughed at the absurdity. Maher calmly dissected the arrogance. Both cut through the spin with clarity. And while The View tiptoed around the elephant in the studio, Rogan and Maher kicked down the door and pointed directly at it, proving that when the truth is this messy, silence isn't classy, it's complicit.
Very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's sort of. I think the other ones. There's a couple of the other ones. Don't have to name any names. Are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart but captured.
Sure. I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course. They do everything with an agenda.
Yeah.
Both Joe Rogan and Bill Maher delivered a swift cultural spanking to the notion that elite media figures get to skip the accountability line just because they know which fork to use at a dinner party. And the funniest part? This wasn't a smear campaign. It was pure observational comedy. No need for conspiracy theories, anonymous sources, or Reddit rabbit holes. The facts were loud, the optics were louder, and Sunny Hostin's silence was absolutely deafening. Here's a woman who's made a living out of breaking down complex legal matters in plain English, suddenly struck mute the moment legal complexity showed up at her own front door in handcuffs. Rogan treated it like a cautionary tale about unchecked egos in media. Maher treated it like a Shakespearean tragedy dressed in late-night satire. And America watched two voices from opposite ends of the cultural spectrum land on the same verdict. The moral pyramid scheme is collapsing, and those perched at the top are pretending it's just a light tremor. That's the real legacy of this story. Not just that a daytime TV host's husband allegedly pulled off a $450 million financial scandal worthy of a Wall Street origin story. Not just that. Rogan and Maher roasted it so hard the echoes bounced through cable news. But that, in the face of an actual legitimate scandal, the voices that usually scream loudest about justice and integrity suddenly became mimes. You don't need a smoking gun when the hypocrisy is doing cartwheels on national TV. You just need someone to point and laugh, and Rogan and Maher were more than happy to oblige. If hypocrisy had a loyalty program, Sunny Hostin would be platinum. If silence were an Olympic sport, The View would be sweeping the podium. Normally, their moral outrage is brewed fresh daily, steamed, stirred, and served with a smug smile. But lately, that kitchen's gone suspiciously quiet. The show's usual Justice Warrior routine folds faster than a lawn chair at a WWE match when one of their own is involved. You can practically hear the producers whispering, okay, today we'll passionately discuss systemic injustice, but let's skip the multi-million-dollar federal indictment to personal. The irony? It's almost art.
I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
yeah.
it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Sunny Hostin, legal analyst extraordinaire, is somehow missing in action just when the legal part of her life became relevant. What are the odds? But here's the kicker. This selective amnesia isn't a one-time blip. It's becoming the norm. Accountability now comes with a loyalty clause. If you're on the right side, your scandals are discreetly swept under the rug, preferably during a commercial break. If you're not, well, every slip-up is magnified like a pimple under a magnifying glass. What used to be about speaking truth to power has now turned into speaking truth, as long as it doesn't mess with brunch plans. Enter Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, the unlikely crusaders of inconvenient truth. They're not playing nice or safe, and they sure aren't offering faux empathy or finger wagging. Instead, they're calling out what the media is too spineless to say. If you build your career on moral superiority, make sure your own closet isn't stuffed with diamond-encrusted skeletons. Right now, Sunny's household is radiating luxury, crime drama vibes, while her coworkers pretend it's just a strange draft in the studio. A $450 million fraud case hasn't just toppled a pedestal, it's blown a hole through the entire circus of performative punditry. It's not just about one person's hypocrisy, it's about the entire act of do as I say, not as I conceal.
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. And when a show gets really, really popular, you know, like Letterman or something like that, obviously it has its own fan base.
Right.
And those people will try to get tickets before anybody else does. And in that case, they probably don't need to use a service anymore. They just get actual fans. But arguably, like, the fans, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point, most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
The View can't even pretend to be the moral compass anymore. That needle's spinning like a blender on turbo. And here's the roast. When Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, two men who couldn't agree on what to order at a diner, both find your moral high ground laughable. Maybe it's time to cancel the TED Talk and consider a career change. How about hosting a game show instead? Working title: Whose husband defrauded $450 million? Spoiler alert, we already know the answer, but hey, maybe next week, The View will surprise us with a segment on accountability. Just not that kind of accountability. Maybe they'll invite a guest expert to discuss financial ethics. You know, someone whose husband hasn't allegedly turned healthcare billing into a billion-dollar improv game. Until then, let's thank Joe Rogan and Bill Maher for doing what the mainstream media is too spineless to do, calling out the hypocrisy and holding the so-called moral elites to account. If anyone sees Sunny Hostin, tell her moral soapbox has officially been repossessed, probably by the same people who seized her husband's assets. In a world where outrage is currency, the loudest voices are often the most bankrupt, especially when their moral posturing crumbles the moment the FBI knocks on the door. Sunny's pedestal didn't just crack, it collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. And while The View pretends it's still about moral clarity, Rogan and Maher are doing the work the media was too scared to do, pointing out that when the FBI shows up, the moral high ground is suddenly a little harder to defend.